Hey friends, Dean here. Before we get you on to your episode, I want to take a moment to invite you to our next virtual online trivia night. Wednesday, May 13th at 8 p.m. Join us either on our Facebook group or on our YouTube page for 3 rounds of fun trivia, music questions, movie questions, general knowledge questions. It'll be a fun time and a chance to win some prizes and have just a good relaxing night of some trivia at home. You don't even have to go out for it. So don't forget, Wednesday, March 13th at 8 p.m. Join us on our Facebook group or YouTube for 3 rounds of fun virtual online trivia. We'll see you there. We're opening Chapter 2 of the Book of Boba Fett. Or should this episode be called Dances with Fett? We'll talk about that as well as give you the hits, the misses, and our grade for this episode. Stay tuned.
Get ready for the 3324 podcast, where lifelong friends Dean Legiro and Erik Kuber share their love of all things music and movies. Dean has directed short films and is a music trivia buff, and Erik, trained in audio engineering, brings his extensive knowledge of music and film to the conversation as they discuss, debate, and celebrate their favorite albums, films, and much more.
Welcome, friends, to our 7-chapter mini-series, The Book of Boba Fett. Every Monday, we will be dissecting the latest episode that came out the previous Wednesday on Disney+. Erik is here also, consuming the same episodes as me.
Yes.
And in the same order.
I watched it 3 times.
3?
Yeah.
I got 2.2. Okay. I skipped around, so I watched it twice, and then I went back and kind of needed to check some points without having to watch the whole thing again.
There's a lot of points to check in this one.
There's a lot of interesting stuff going on in this episode.
Yeah.
It's episode number 2 that we're on out of 7 episodes. So again, you can join us every Monday for the new episode, and they will be spoilers, but we're giving you enough time. They come out on Wednesday. We do it the following Monday. So you've got enough time to watch it. And then check in with us. But or if you're going to wait and binge them all at once, then you've got all these episodes waiting for you as well. So this is episode number 2, titled The Tribes of Tatooine, directed by Steph Green. She's done a lot of TV work, a lot of episodic television work, so she's tailor-made for this show. Written again by Jon Favreau, this episode.
Yes.
Let me give you a short plot synopsis, and then we will talk about it, and then we will give our hits and misses, and then we'll grade the episode at the end. So in this episode, Boba Fett learns the identity of who was responsible for the assassins that he encountered in the previous episode. It's not the mayor, as the assassin confessed. Jabba the Hutt's cousins, the twins, appear and lay ancestral claim to Jabba's criminal empire, but Boba asserts that he's the daimyo and refuses to budge.
Yeah.
We are also introduced to Black Krrsantan, the Wookiee bounty hunter and protector of the twins. The rest of the episode goes back to Boba's time with the Tuskens as he helps them battle uninvited trespassers in the tribe's territory of the Dune Sea. We learn that the trespassers are the Pike Syndicate, who are smuggling spice through the territory. They're warned not to do this anymore, or going forward, they must pay for passage through the Dune Sea. Boba Fett is accepted into the Tusken tribe and constructs his own gaffy stick out of a branch from a mystical tree.
And there it is.
Did I sum it up?
You summed it up. That was very well done, sir.
Right? Nice, right? What kind of word economy? Because I can go on. I could have spent 15 minutes just talking.
Sure. It was hard for me to
recapping the episode.
Yeah.
The first episode was kind of flashback, flash forward, flashback, flash forward. This one really just kind of, we got some present day stuff in the beginning, literally less than 15 minutes of it. And then the rest of the episode, he goes to the back to tank. And then now we know when you see the back to tank, it's pretty much going into a dream state or flashback.
Lead in. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. So I guess let's start by talking about some of the reveals and the cameos in this thing. I mean, there was a ton. I mean, we learned that the assassins they are a part of something called the Order of the Night Wind. I think is possibly linked to the Crimson Dawn crime syndicate that we saw in Solo. Mok Shaiz is the Ithorian mayor of Mos Espa. He's revealed to be one of the hammerhead
the hammerhead
alien races. That's what they used to call him back in our day. It was just hammerhead.
The hammerhead.
Which, interestingly enough, he knows what's pretty much going on. There's a much bigger something happening. Of course, the twins, Jabba's cousins, and then as you mentioned, the Black Wookiee. And
Yeah.
he got his start
Chrysanthemum, or
in,
they call him Santa for short. They call him
yeah.
BK for short. He's got a lot of pseudonyms, and he was his first appearance. He appeared in the Marvel Comics,
Yeah.
a couple of different Star Wars runs back, I think, 2015. So
Mhm.
he was already there. But it's nice that I guess that now he's officially part of the Star Wars canon, because they did kind of
Yes.
erase some of the canon back in when they I think when Disney
Lucas.
bought Lucasfilm,
Yes.
they
Mhm.
kind of said, well, this is not, and this is. So Black Chrysanthemum is a fellow bounty hunter too, and that's some of the thing in the comics. He may have worked alongside of Boba Fett,
They did
because
cross
they were in the
paths.
bounty,
I know
bounty
that for a
hunters, and they
fact.
were
Yeah.
dispatched, and I believe they were hired by Vader at the same time.
Yeah.
Vader hired Boba Fett to go find Luke Skywalker, and Black Chrysanthemum he hired to go to Tatooine, I think, to find somebody for the Emperor, like a rogue agent or something like that.
Yeah.
But,
and of course, I mean, you know this in the episode. I mean, Boba does recognize him. He mentions gladiator because he knows that he used to be a slave or
Yep.
gladiator, and he earned his freedom, and then he became a bounty hunter.
Yep.
So there is that recognition there, that mutual. I think there's that mutual respect going on. You know, he's giving him the kind of the side glance, and he knows, hey, don't mess with me. Hopefully, we'll get to see that play out a little bit.
I'm sure they will. It was kind of a very special amount of time the camera spent on him. So and that kind of wrapped up the whole now time. And then he pretty much goes back to the Bacta chamber, and we flash back to his time with the Tuscans. Again, I'm sorry, but it was very much like Dances with Wolves.
Oh, absolutely.
This episode where he's
very
spending
derivative
time with them and showing them the ways of the technology. He grabs the speeder bikes. He goes to the bar.
Which, if for all you folks who don't know, I don't know if anybody would recognize it, but that is actually Tashi Station, and the
famous Tashi Station
that Luke mentions in the original film, and the young couple sitting there at the table. That's Luke's friends, Kami and Fixer, from they're making their little cameo from a scene that didn't quite make the film. Yeah. But if you go on YouTube, you can see like the deleted scene from A New Hope, where Luke goes to Tashi Station to say goodbye to his friend Biggs, who's joining the rebellion, and these two are just part of the gang that they hang out with. So, I thought the biker gang thing was a little much, especially on point.
So just before that, the whole thing, this whole episode is this train goes speeding through the Dune Sea, and they're shooting from the train and picking off the Tuscans, and the Tuscans are fighting back, but they're getting kind of just destroyed. So Boba Fett's like, I'll get rid of the train for you. I'll take care of it, because he had noticed a quote. It's kind of like a Hell's Angels, like speeder gang going by. So he goes out into the night. He goes to the bar, which is Tashi Station, and
I mean, right down to the leather jackets and everything.
With the patches on the back and stuff. It was just kind of really kind of a little strange. He steals the bikes, brings them back, right? And then we get a little humorous thing, which with showing the Tuscans how to use the technology, how to use the speeder bikes.
Yeah.
And that was kind of humorous, and they're trying to show them how to jump from one to the other, which we saw Leia or Luke execute pretty seamlessly in Return of the Jedi, jumping from one to the other. Like, it seemed like it was no big deal, but apparently it's a little bit more difficult as we find out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I thought it was fun. It's interesting that, you're not quite sure of the timeline, and you're not sure of like exactly how long he's been with the tribe. How long has this been going on with this train? What they call it, the long speeder, which I think was kind of cool. How much time has passed since he escaped from the Sarlacc pit? We don't really know this. I'm assuming that it's been quite a while, so he's been with the tribe for, quite some time. He's earned their respect. And yes, this is that very derivative storyline of like Dances with Wolves or even Avatar for, so we've seen this kind of thing happen again and again and again. I think it suits the character, though. I think it's right for the character. We'll see, because it's all about him belonging somewhere, right? I mean, his whole life, he's been a kid. He's been with one sort of scumbag group of bounty hunters of another. And it's just like, he never found that right family that I guess his father had, that nobility, had that sense of honor that these other other people weren't exactly teaching him. And I think this is what this is trying to convey. So
he basically gets them trained up, not to be corny, to assault the train, but they get some train, they're going to go and kind of put a stop to the train because another train comes through. So they're ready for it. And they kind of jump it and trying to either heist it or just stop it or crash it. And they end up doing that. And then they find out that spice is being smuggled by the Pike organization. Yeah. They kind of say, hey, you can't just come through here. This land is part of their ancestral heritage. From now on, if you come through, you got to pay. And if not, you're going to be visited with, more violence.
Yeah.
And then they go back and something jumps up his nose.
Oh, yeah. This was probably the oddest part of the episode for me because it felt like I almost feel like the episode should have ended with them when they start walking and they say, and that's that. I feel like that's where the episode should have ended right there. Yeah. They could have saved this for another episode. I feel this vision quest that they put him on. It seemed a bit tacked on.
He kind of stumbles out into the desert and has this weird trip, and he comes back basically with a large branch. And they then bring him over to a little area, like a shop, and he gets shown how to craft the end of the piece of wood into a gaffy stick, and they attach it, and that was kind of neat. They went into the process of it and how it's constructed, and that it's a lot of detail work in the wood and fashioning it and getting all that stuff, which I found was neat. And then they have this dance around the fire.
So when you see when you see him, his first appearance in The Mandalorian, you just assume that, he's wearing these black robes and he's got a gaffy stick. You just assume that he might have killed some Tusken along the way and just basically took everything off him. But no, he earned this thing. It's a rite of passage kind of thing. And
because they drape him and they adorn him in
the black.
He doesn't have to wear his white Boba Fett jumpsuit anymore. They kind of give him clothes and
where that
sort of acceptance.
That sort of Bedouin look to him comes like a desert, which I thought was kind of neat.
Arabia-ish.
Yeah, exactly. It's but that's Star Wars, right? I mean, he kind of rips off everything. So if you're going to pull on that thread, you got to go back and pull on every thread. I mean, everything is.
I guess if I don't have a problem with it if it doesn't take me out of the story, but if I'm watching it and I'm like, this is reminding me actively of something else, that's when it takes me out, and that's what happened in this episode. Because a lot of the things for me were very derivative of other episodes, other and from stuff from The Mandalorian. I'm like, we've kind of seen this already.
Yeah.
So let's kind of go with that. What were your hits? What were some of your hits? What did you really like about this episode?
Well, I thought like I said, I loved the way they rolled out all of these characters. I think that, the pacing of it, I thought it was really well done because, times, when if it had been any shorter, I think it would have felt too much but I like the way the director paced these characters out. I really like the cameo of Gaming and Fixer. I thought that was a neat Easter egg. The fight scene in the bar, I thought was a vast improvement over the fight in episode 1. I thought, this was the Boba Fett that we saw in that episode where he's really tearing, throwing people around and hitting him with the stick and all that kind of thing. So I thought the action was better. The train sequences, as far as my misses go, to me, that was Back to the Future Part 3. I felt like that scene with every time the robot, the droid, he was hitting the switch and the engine,
turbo?
The turbo, it happened 3 times. That was definitely, to me, that was definitely a nod to Back to the Future 3. So that was a little much for me. That's the problem. I have to say that, there was the part where they reveal the spice that was right out of Dune. Yeah. I had just seen the new Dune, the effect of it looked exactly like the way it looks in the new film. It kind of glows in the air, I'm like, okay, come on, that's. But that's a whole nother discussion because I feel like Star Wars is a ripoff of Dune anyway. So now that I've read the book and seen, whatever, but that's a whole other thing. So that was probably my main misses with it. I didn't, like I said, I didn't have a problem with that storyline and the way it was presented. I understand your point about it taking you out of the story because it happens to me too.
Yeah.
A lot. So but those are the moments that for me, it was kind of like,
So that anyway. For my hits, I like the mayor. I thought that was a cool character. He sounded a little, not exactly, but he reminded me of Quato from Total Recall, just the way he spoke, like very calmly. And I kind of like the little translator thing he had on him. There was a little speaker coming out, and he's kind of just talking very calmly. So I kind of like that. Black Chrysanthemum, I wasn't really familiar with that character, so I thought that was kind of neat because you never see a bad Wookiee. In the films so far. You've never seen one that's been on the other side of the law, as it were. Right. So that was kind of really neat to see. His character design reminded me of one of the ape designs from Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Kind of looked like one of them. Those were the hits. The misses, man, the train sequence, they kind of rehashed it from The Mandalorian, because they had that sequence in the episode with Bill Burr where they're trying to take over that transport and drive it in, and they can't go too fast, and they're getting attacked by speeder guys on other things, and they're jumping on and they're using the hatches. It was just like I just saw this, so I had a problem with that. The bar scene, I had a problem. I didn't care for as well, because he just walks in, they show his silhouette, and then people just starting attacking him for no reason. Like the biker gang, just kind of, they just try to walk over and they just like drop what they're doing, the people they're harassing, and then they just walk over to him and just start kind of slugging at him. I was like, what was the point of that? It just, that's what I have a problem with, is these things just don't, they're starting to take leaps in logic that just don't connect to anything. It's just, he walks in and people just attack him for no reason. And then this is just a little nitpick. He's taking his helmet off too much. I'm sorry. And I want to see Boba Fett as Boba Fett, but as soon as he walks in, his helmet's off. Like I don't think, we never got the impression that was something he did. That just kind of like, it's always been an enigmatic figure because of the armor and because of the helmet. And even if he's not a Mandalorian and doesn't, isn't tied to leaving it on, it's kind of like, that's the image that he's striking, and that image of being a fear and leader or whatever. He just kind of takes it off all the time. So I'm kind of like, I know they want to show Tamura Morrison, but that's a nitpick.
It is,
but
I think that the fact that they have established that in the Mandalorian, that they came up with this whole new storyline of like a certain sect of Mandalorians.
Does it
and don't
do and don't.
And Boba Fett is definitely not part of that.
Definitely not.
But we've seen Jango without his helmet enough times in Attack of the Clones too. So I mean, so maybe
I guess again,
I see what you're saying, but I get it. I think
the problem for me is none of this Tusken stuff is explaining why he's changing. All he like I think I said in the last episode, he went into the Sarlacc, this badass bounty hunter who was in it for the money, comes out, gets captured, and we still, if there's going to be this explanation for a change, I want it, because I need to understand why he's changing, not just. There's nothing explaining why he's going from a bounty hunter to all of a sudden not wanting to be one and just be like this crime lord, and doesn't know how to be a crime lord. So there's a little humorous thing there of he's figuring it out, which I'm fine with, but they're just not explaining why this change happened. Instead, we're getting a 20-minute train scene when they could have just been using that to develop the relationship more and explain it. So that's my problem with it is, I want to understand why this change is happening. I think it's
the perception of the character too. I think, a lot of people are just, they want that one-dimensional guy that we saw, but you can't write him as a bad guy all the time. You can't have him just kill people. There's got to be a reason. There's got to be, so they're trying to, just make him.
Yeah, no, I get that. They're just not explaining
honorable, but yet still dangerous. He's dangerous when he needs to be. And
I'm okay with that. We're just not getting the explanation. So that's going to lead us to grade this episode.
Okay.
So for this episode, what do you give it on a? We do A through F as if we were in school.
I'm gonna, I enjoyed it. I'm gonna say I thought it was an improvement over episode 1, so I'm gonna give it a solid B+. Nice. I really liked it. I think hopefully it's gonna get better. I don't think I'm gonna be able to give anything higher than that until I see how this thing rolls out. I'm not going to allow myself to do that. I don't want to build the expectation either. So I'm just kind of gradually trying to come into my own and
proceeding
find
with caution.
Find reasons to like it. Actually, I just want to like it. You know what I mean? And maybe I'm just being gushy or whatever. But I just,
I think that's what it is. I think we set our expectations high.
Yeah.
And it's kind of bringing us down a little bit. My grade is a C. So it was right in the middle. I didn't, wasn't a hate. I didn't hate the episode, but for me, it didn't really advance much. Because my thing is I want to see the stuff in the now. Like for me, that's the story.
True. Yeah.
Less of the, and they're playing up the Tuskens so much that I have no choice but to feel in the last episode, he's going to be backed into a corner or something. And then the Tuskens are going to show up and help him. He's going to be right. He's going to be in a situation where he's outnumbered and, kind of like Thunderheart with Val Kilmer when he's in the desert at the end and he's cornered and then all of his friends kind of come up from the mountains and they have him surrounded and they show up.
Maybe
they're kind of really built. They're really pushing this because at some point we know he leaves the Tuskens and then goes to Jabba's palace. So we know he breaks with them or leaves them at some point, which will probably happen next episode. So
we'll see.
A B plus, you said?
B plus, yeah.
B plus for Erik and a C
yeah.
for me. My expectations are getting tempered a little bit more. Erik is cautiously optimistic and always ever hopeful. Looking forward for episode 3 to kind of tie this up for me. If you can tie it up, then I'm good to go and we continue because there's a lot of interesting stuff with the twins and the Fetts and all that kind of stuff. So they are building that story, which we're looking forward to. So you can find these episodes, these quick recaps every Monday at the 3324 podcast. We have full length episodes that we do about music and movies. Those come out every Thursday. So won't you join us for those as well? We would love to have you join us. It would mean so much to us. So we will see you next Monday for Chapter 3 in the book of Boba Fett, and we will recap that episode as well and grade it for you. For Erik, this has been Dean, and we will see you next week for Chapter 3 of the book of Boba Fett.
You've been listening to the 3324 podcast with Dean Legiro and Erik Kuber. You can find us on your favorite podcast provider, so please like, subscribe, and rate to become a part of the 3324 family. Your feedback is important, so make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at 3324 podcast and on Twitter at 3324p to join the conversation.